Hi everyone, it's Drive with a Viewer Day. You may know Simon already, I'm sure a few of you will. Myself and Simon did recently our cognitive load video, didn't we?
We did.
How positive is that as well? You
Well,
know, I've got a couple of things I'm going to have a gab to you today as well. I've ran with that as well, mate.
You're going to pick my brains again, aren't you?
I've ran with that.
Yeah, no, it's right.
But Simon was one of the first of my viewers to do a drive with a viewer. I think you were second. I think Ogmius was the first one, and you came a close second. It was only a few weeks after. And when I did the drive with Simon, I didn't drive. Simon did all the driving, and I've been promising for ages that we were going to get together and I could have a drive of Simon's Kia EV6. What exact spec is it? It's the GT one, but it's not the GT.
It's a GTLS, so
Okay.
GT Line S,
Okay.
which is a UK only spec car.
All right. Isn't it the four-wheel drive one?
All-wheel drive,
Four-wheel drive.
motor front and rear.
Wicked. What sort of?
320-ish horsepower.
Okay, sound.
Yeah.
So a little bit more than my Focus. So we're going to go and try and go on the fastest roads we can and drive it like I've stole it. I'm only joking. I won't. I'm going to be kind. It's not in my nature anyway. We've got a few things that we're going to go off and talk about the car and probably driving in general. You may or may not have seen the first drive, but Simon's, I'm not blowing smoke, he is a good driver. You've done a fair bit of advanced stuff in your time, haven't you?
Yep, I'd like to try and keep the standard up.
Cool. Okay. And you're still trying to learn some of the rubbish that I put out as well,
Yeah.
which is all good. We've got nothing, I haven't really got a route planned. I've just discussed with Simon just briefly about a couple of things that we'd like to mention. And I'm just going to go off and find a little place where we can go and have a little look to see whether 3-year-old the Kia is now, isn't it? Getting on for
2.5, yeah.
2.5 years. Whether it's still, I was going to say relevant. I think that's a little bit cruel to say it's absolutely relevant. I do know that they've just updated it. They've given it a mid-life facelift, haven't they?
Yeah, bit of a facelift, bit of technology upgrade, but
Okay.
not a lot of changes.
Not a lot of changes. Simon is a big EV car fan, and we're just going to go and see how we get on. Sound. I've got a couple of cameras, both sides, so I'm going to just randomly switch between the view and just make everyone feel dizzy and sick. I think no.
It's me that'll be dizzy and sick when I get lost coming out of here.
No, was it saying that sat nav's pretty good nowadays, isn't it? Pillars are pretty good, to be honest, mate. Modern cars are pretty awful with these big pillars, but that coming round there wasn't anything different than mine. It feels, driving wise, quite high up. I know I've just lowered my seat down. I think I did say this last time about your car, that it's a big car really, isn't it? Even though it's a 5-door hatchback effectively with a reasonable sized boot.
It's deceptively wide, I think.
Yeah, I think they're all going like that.
You realise when you try and park it in space.
Yes, and I've found that of my missus's car. Like I've always said, I'm not going to divulge what my missus drives, but it's very, very wide. Okay, what type of problems have you had with this Kia since you had it, or you got it 2.5 years ago, mate?
Mainly software issues that they were updating, because we touched on it. This was one of the early cars.
Yep.
I got it in a time where the lead time was over 12 months because they was trying to get them out from the factory.
I remember them days.
Yeah, so there was quite a few software niggles that they've gradually ironed out.
Okay.
And just made things, improvements to the drive.
Have you noticed them significantly as well, or have they been really subtle? I think, Sam, it's fair to say you're driving it like me. You'll probably notice tiny little differences. Do you think the average person would notice them? Oh, how do I know it's on auto hold bottom left? Sorry, I'll work it out. If I've got a question, I'll ask.
Yeah.
If not, I'll work it out.
Judging by the forums and Facebook and all those sorts of silly places, I don't think the average punter realises, because normally when they go in and they get a software update, the first thing everybody comes back and goes, my range has increased. Well, it's not. It's just that they've reset everything.
Yeah.
But some people don't realise that they've had a software update in most cases.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I sort of get that. There was a big software update on Liz's car halfway through the time that we've had it,
Yeah.
and they promised extra range. Nah, absolutely not. Suppose they can suddenly magic efficiency and that much of a difference.
Well, the Jag I had before this, they did a huge software update partway through that,
Yep.
and that did improve range.
Okay.
But it did so in a way that then screwed up the sat nav, so it could never predict when it needed charging on the sat nav. So they just didn't do the joined up thinking.
No. Width is similar to Liz's car. Just looking at it down here. One of the things that you said about cognitive load, I'm just going to quickly mention, I'm going to just explain how I've run with it over the past number of months since we did that as well. I've done a couple of bits. There's even a video out shortly of me doing some instructor training where I talk about fluff. Fluff is my new way of working out what does not need to be looked at.
Right.
It's my explanation of it. And I'm trying to get this across to my instructors. Let's see how it goes over these speed bumps. Left knee over the middle. Works perfectly. And that's what I'm actually going to talk about regarding cognitive load and getting rid of fluff. What I've worked out, even more so over the last few months, is the amount of people who will only look to the speed bump, and they wouldn't even see the next speed bump yet. They'd probably only see it now.
Right.
And if you think, if you're coming up towards a scenario, even if they're looking down there to gauge the width of the car, and that's generally what people do, you imagine how much time is taken up from what they should be looking at. And this is what I'm trying to get into the instructors and the few learners that I've still got left. But getting rid of this fluff is across the board. And it all goes back to your question about cognitive load in that video, that I've tried to go, well, hang on a minute, if cognitive load is too big, what can I do to reduce? And effectively, getting rid of the shit that people do is a decent way of reducing cognitive load. Is that
Focusing in on the important stuff, on the hazard that you're going to perceive ahead of you, rather than, because a speed bump's not going to jump out the road and attack you.
No.
It'll just unsettle the vehicle.
But I've found that people, like yawn. It's quite excited. Sorry, I love different horn sounds. I'm going to head down the country roads. Yeah, cognitive load. Even looking at your car there, when I put the indicators on, Simon's car, similar to my old Tesla. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you, mate. If I can't, I'll ask you. Don't worry. But yeah, on the dash, might try and get a little video of that a little later. But when you put the indicators on, camera comes up on the screen. I sort of get that, but that for me is fluff.
Well, we touched upon this when we went out originally as to what I use that for.
Yeah.
And it's always the last final check on a merge onto the motorway.
Yep.
So I've done a shoulder check.
Yep.
I've done a mirror check. I've done a shoulder check.
Yep.
And just as my focus is coming back round onto the front,
You'll have a glance.
I just use that as the glance, because basically it's a is the car that I've just checked the one that I can see in that mirror?
Yep. Yeah, perfect.
If it's a red car and it's a red car, I know I've nothing.
You're okay. Yes. Yeah. And that's good to use it in that way. But I think things like that, to average Joe, is fluff. And then it takes their attention away from what they actually should be looking at.
Because that's an eyes down. You know, we've got a heads-up display in this car, but that is on the dash, so it's taking your eyes down.
Yeah. Fiesta behind was all too ready to go over, and that's a common thing that I always say. Keep an eye out for people just straight line and going over them. Right, this Fiesta might be looking to do that, so yep.
Yeah, There's a little Z-Tech in there working hard, isn't there?
That's right. But see it happening and sort it and be the problem solver, as I always try and talk about. But it's amazing, doing the correct things can often cause the issues, can't it? Okay, so that's where I've been at over the last little bit, and it's all, again, thanks to yourself, Simon, to just put that little carrot in front of me about cognitive load. And it's really transformed the last little bit on how not only how I'm teaching the learners, but how I'm training the instructors as well. Virtually every single lesson is saying to, I'm talking about a lesson observation here with an instructor. Virtually every single time I'm out, I'm saying to people, stop the pupil doing the fluff.
Yeah. When they do make an error or a misjudgment, working out why that happened, and 9 times out of 10, it'll be because they were overloaded.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, 100%. And although we've got some lovely tech in your Kia, I bet you don't really utilise it. You're right, you're a driving nit like me. You like to have a little play with certain things, and little things like that would excite you, and I think the same way that they would excite me. But really, honestly, do you use most of the tech in your car, or do you just operate it and just drive?
Depends what it is. So,
Okay.
for example, the radar guided cruise control,
Yep.
I will use a lot,
Okay.
an awful lot, because cognitive load.
Yeah.
It reduces the cognitive load on the motorway. It makes the journey for me easier.
Yeah.
I'm able to concentrate more on what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's a use of the technology that a lot of people probably don't utilise. Or do infrequently.
Does it do anything about stuff at the side of us though, or does it still potentially put you next to that lorry in the lorry's blind spot? It
will not put you in a pocket of space.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so that's the thing.
And that's my issue with it, to be honest. That I've not had it on my car. I didn't option it on my Focus. I didn't option it on Liz's car. I haven't optioned it on Liz's new car that we've ordered, because just of that reason. But it's interesting you say you do use it. You do a fair few miles. You've done what, 23 and a bit thousand miles in your 2.5 years. Saying that, that's actually not that much, really.
It's not. My mileage has dropped a lot.
Yeah.
With the current job.
That's no more than me, to be fair. Yeah. That's about the same.
But quite a lot of that will be on the motorway, whereas all yours will be
in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I will utilise that. But you're right, particularly on a busy motorway situation. If you're in a lane 2, it will
stick you next to
gap you to the vehicle in front and not care that you're alongside something.
Yeah.
But that's where you've got the cancel button.
Yeah, you're right.
And you can just modulate.
And that is always going to be the case. I think in our driving lifetime as well, I don't think they're going to have systems that are going to be able to absolutely do everything perfectly to stuff around. It's too complex. Yeah. It is too complex. First impressions driving are, you know what, it's such a lovely, comfortable place to be. Width isn't an issue for me because I'm used to it. Left knee, right knee is still something that I'm dealing with, and that enables me not to have to worry down over the front where the position of the car is. Another little thing I've been doing recently, I've actually made a video on it years ago, can't remember where it is or what it was called, but it's sectioned out from the bonnet up to the horizon, the view that we've got, into 3 equal sections. 1 at the bottom, 2 in the middle, 3 at the top. And it was only me doing that video that really helped a lot of people understand that you never need to look at section 1, it's always 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And the people who are doing the fluff, they'll be looking at 1 pointlessly, and it takes away what they actually do need to look at. Right, we do have a little bit of a faster speed. I'm up ahead. It's not quite fast enough, but it's a 40. More than enough, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it squirted up to about 43 there on your dash. So yeah, there's never going to be an issue. You're never going to have to complain about 320 horsepower.
Not on an EV with that much torque as well. No. It's just going to put you forward. I was thinking about this on the way over today as to how you would explain it compared to others. So that this has got a kind of softer throttle than something like a Tesla.
Yes.
So ultimately, it's got this similar performance, but when you nail it, it's got that half second of just applying a little bit of restraint.
I actually think that's a better way of doing it.
Much better.
It's a better way of doing it.
Passengers appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I think car manufacturers do put that into their vehicles because it sort of like cons them into it feels quicker as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've used the brakes much, mate. I had a little touch of it on the previous roundabout when that, I think it was a little Peugeot came round.
Yeah.
But I haven't used the brakes much. We'll go back to the regen in a second. But yeah, there is a nice smoothness to what's going on with the accelerator. I think they've quite seamlessly managed the off the accelerator to the regen to the brake. And that was a problem for some manufacturers at the beginning, wasn't it?
It's really tricky to get right.
Yeah.
The Jag was the same. The Jag, you could always tell when it was transitioning from regen to friction brakes.
Yeah.
This,
You can't really.
you can't. Most of the time, you only really tell because you hear them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it's quite quiet. You can
Yes.
actually just, as you come into a slow into a stop, you go,
You-
oh,
that was it. Yeah.
The friction brake coming.
Yeah, you mentioned your regen before that it's adjustable. I like the setting that you've got it on. Would you? Is that on quite a high regenerative setting, or is it midway? Where are you at with it?
It's level 2, I think. Out
Okay.
of, so basically, you can have it off 1, 2, 3, and max. So max
Okay.
is like a one pedal driving.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's on the higher end of mid.
Yeah.
Than what it is.
That's about right, to be honest.
But it's set in auto mode as well, which means it will increase the regen.
Yeah.
If it thinks you need it.
That's with the radar stuff out the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where you've got the regen indicator, you see it's gone green. It says auto.
Where?
Here.
Here. Oh, yes.
That's because it knows that car's there.
Okay.
So
if I
it's
tailgate, I'm not going to, but
But
it
if you
may.
do, then when you come off, you'll get more regen.
I felt that there.
Yeah.
It did. That's a clever system. I like that.
Yeah. And that blue line underneath the auto is telling you how much regen there is. So it's gone off now, and now it's come back on again. It's going, yeah.
With you?
So
It is a clever system.
So if you do accelerate towards something and then lift off,
It will go. Ooh,
it will go. Well, I'll give you a bit more then.
like that. Good effort. I'm just going to head down this road and a few country roads. So yeah, it's not as much as it was when I was closer to the Porsche. Fair play. Okay. Always makes me wonder why this road is actually 50 with the houses and the proximity, but anyway.
Driveway is pulling out onto a 50. That's going to be.
It's a bit sketchy, to be fair. It is a bit sketchy, but drive to what you see again. Absolutely. But impressed with that regen. That's good tech. That it's not something that I probably would have felt myself unless you told me as well, because I think I would have managed my space and not got to that situation.
Yeah. And they don't come from the factory with that turned on.
You've got to turn it on.
You've got to read the manual and go, oh, what's this thing that does auto? Because you've got to hold one of the paddles in for a couple of seconds to
get it on.
So you see an EV6 on the road,
It's probably
most people are in normal regen without auto on.
Yeah,
And
most
you're like,
people-
What a waste.
Yeah.
Because it's a safety feature as
It is,
well
a
as
safety, it is a safety feature. It is a safety feature. And interestingly, I've just give Simon, he's not going to give any inside info out. I've just talked to Simon a little bit about my first car project, and I've just told him about potentially a car with a higher degree of safety systems is a lot cheaper to insure than an old shed, and that was it really. And
That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Has Lane Keep Assist tried to kill you yet?
No, have you got it off or on?
It's on.
It's on. That's quite subtle then. I'm saying that I don't think I've been too much outside, but no, I've not felt a thing. It is my first go-to at turning it off. I personally think it's the danger one out of all of the safety systems.
Yeah.
But never going to risk going quick when there's a tractor. Have I ever told you about my nearly biggest accident I had?
No.
It was a similar scenario to that on a right-hand bend years ago, not too far away from here in Lydia, and I was bombing down the road before I was a driving instructor. Tractor coming the other way. I had enough space, but it was towing a plough that was stuck about 18 inches into my road, and it was a narrow road. How I didn't come off and hit a big stone wall to my left, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
sent you some footage a few weeks back of me following one like that.
Yeah.
And he'd got a massive plough on the back.
Yeah.
And full credit to the tractor driver how he navigated through
the little
busy
tight spaces. Yeah, I did see
But
that.
yeah, somebody coming the other way.
Yeah.
We just see tractor.
Yeah, they do.
And it's another
They do.
2 and a bit feet out.
They do. But no, I've had no lane keep assist. I'll just be interested in everyone else's opinion. I think I'm just stoking comments here because I can't see anyone who actually thinks that it's a pretty good idea. I actually call it the cyclist killer because you try and go around a cyclist and it goes, no!
Oh my God, get over.
Get over. Go a little bit closer to them. All good though, mate. I've honestly not touched the brake in a little while. It takes me back to my Tesla. I liked how that drove as well, to be honest, and I think it suits. Would you say it suits a planned style having the regen on? And yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Definitely does.
Because you've got to modulate. It's a strange place to wait, but anyway, thank you. You've got to modulate how much input you have to the accelerator as well. It's I think it's a good little thing.
The only thing I find not difficult, but it can be a challenge, is particularly on a road like this where you've got some nice open bends.
Yep.
Of having done all of your regenerative braking and getting a little bit of power to balance the car back up again.
Yep.
Because you're doing it all through the accelerator.
Yes.
You're almost trying to judge it based on a dashboard display or something like that. It's hard to work out that you've come off regen
and
you've got just a little bit of power on.
Yep.
To balance the car back up for a bend.
Yeah. I think that's just probably our nittiness and our experience just to go feel. I've recently, I wasn't able to film it, but I went to Alton Park recently and did the rally day, which was purposefully getting the car out of shape, which to me, it wasn't alien. I was still able to do it. There's my younger days, giving me a little bit of a handout, but it goes against sort of everything that I stand for driving on the roads, because you're trying to do your utmost not to get it out of shape. You're doing all your braking in a straight line, you're balancing it before the corner, but purposefully going into a corner, you're trail braking and trying to get the car to rotate to actually turn in a little bit quicker. But it's all down to feel, and that's so hard to teach novice drivers as well. And I think you've just got to live and just drive a little bit to understand that.
Yeah, and it even comes back to the piece you've done on the cross climate tyres.
Yep.
Being able to instantly spot that you've got more grip comes back to being able to feel it.
Yes.
Because I put them on this same tyre.
Oh, have we got cross climate? Oh, we have. Yeah, you did tell me. Yeah.
And I agree with you. You get it in deep, wet conditions.
Can I go in sport mode for the national speed limit? How do you do it?
That drive mode button.
Drive mode. Are we in sport now?
You are in sport now.
I'm going to give it a little squirt up here. Go. Okay. Yeah, plenty there.
Yeah.
Not coming into corners too quick. Can we have a little play with down here? Do I press drive mode again to get it into normal?
Yeah, we've got eco, then normal.
Eco, and then was I normal before?
Yeah.
Right, what I'm going to do, there's just something that I think we slightly touched on when I saw you last time. I think it was towards the end of our drive last time, wasn't it? Where I'm just going to stay at a set level with my acceleration. We've got no one around us, national speed limit road. I'm doing 35 miles an hour. I'm going to get round this corner and keep it steady, and then I'm going to not move my foot and just put it in sport mode and see what goes on. So get to steady 35. Here we go. I'm not going to move my foot. 37, 8, 9, 40, 41, 40, 42. I'm going to go to eco. and now we're slowing back down again.
Regen them.
Regen, so regen's extra.
Yeah.
And it's slowing 34, 33, 32. Press it again, back to normal, and it's just settled to that same speed again. So
that's doing it with a steady throttle.
yes.
Now when we go around this corner, just do a gentle acceleration.
And then do the same.
Yeah.
Much more.
You feel it?
Much more.
Yeah.
So that's something that people do have to be careful of, is switching drive modes whilst they're actually driving, and especially like we've talked about before with the extra torque and power that you get from the electric motors. That's an interesting little experiment, that as well. Oh yes, pushing me in. I actually just wanted to use a little bit more space there. I know we had the junction coming, but that's the first time. It's nice on a head-up display that it actually says go over there a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a good heads-up display on this.
It is. Have you gone for the? Do you mind me telling people what you've gone for, new car?
Oh no, not at all.
No.
Because you'll probably want to drive that as well.
I certainly will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simon's gone for the new electric Audi Q6, haven't you?
Yes.
It's coming soon as well. Interesting. It's a brand new Volkswagen Group platform. I think it's been used for. Is it being used for the new Porsche Macan as well?
Yeah,
I think it is.
I think
Platform.
it was developed with Porsche.
Yeah.
So it's a diversion away from the Volkswagen platform that everything else is on.
Yeah.
800 volt architecture, same as this.
Yeah.
So expect the same rates of charge.
Yeah. That'll be a nice motor, that as well. Really will be a nice motor. So I'm going to go left. I'm going to go and have a little go on the M58 motorway, I think, because there's a little bit with the lane change, the automatic lane change that you're going to show me about the car, isn't
Sure,
there?
yeah.
Go and have a little go with that. But yeah, the new Audi Q6, it does look an impressive machine. Any thoughts on why you chose that? Is there just not that much options away from sort of like this sort of level car now? Everyone's done the Tesla Model 3. There's been quite a few of these sold as well.
Yeah, and I'm getting rid of this before term. I should really have kept it till November next year, but it's the shape of this which is the disadvantage. It's got a real steep-rigged rear screen, which means that now almost 12-month-old Labrador doesn't fit.
Yep.
He sulks and bangs his head on the dash cam in the back.
So you've changed it for that reason as well.
And you're right. Looking round at what else was out there, Skoda Enyaq is probably the only thing that's
close.
That's the right shape.
Yeah.
But the architecture is inferior to this.
Yeah.
Because it's on the VLV. So
that's right. Yeah.
Why would I go backwards?
Yeah.
So really, it was pretty much the only thing
out there.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing that as well, mate, because they are they're nice motors. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn right at the roundabout. I'm going to head up the 58 and then back down. If we go left onto the M58 here, we've only got a limited time before we then back down to Switch Island. It just gives us a little bit more. The controls are obviously here.
So the one above the left rocker switch turns cruise on. And
okay.
It will set at that speed.
As soon as you press it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sound. Then I've got probably up and down on this left rocker.
Yeah.
Cancel, what would cancel be? Not sure.
Same as top one.
Same as top one?
Yeah, just turn it on.
Okay.
Or obviously, if you brake or
yeah.
any of the usual misdemeanors.
Yeah. I do like how you've got the regen set, because it slows down nicely, but then just keeps you bowling, to be honest. All good. Did you see Owen's crash with the cruise control?
Yes, I did. I put a comment in it.
Yeah.
But
was that something that you would have known about not using cruise in poor conditions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as I said, in this I use cruise a lot.
Yeah.
But that's because in all the cars I've had cruise in, going back 20 odd years now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the first ones was my VW Bora, 2000 on an X. So
Yeah.
24, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
1.9 turbo diesel. It wasn't. It was not the crazy 130. It was 115 horsepower.
Yeah.
But that would be terrible for it. If you were cruising along quite happily and you hit standing water, it would react to the vehicle slowing down by applying throttle.
Okay.
And then if you were in slippy conditions, it would do that, and it would apply enough throttle to spin the wheel up, or a traction control to kick in.
Yeah.
It's going to change for you.
It's going to change for me. Will it straighten up in the lane?
Yep.
Ah! How do we increase the speed? Is it control left or right?
Left.
Left.
Up.
I'm going to set it at 70. Will it get there on its own?
Yep.
Yeah. Wicked. Okay, so that was a pretty scary one. You know what? I still don't trust them as far as I could throw them. I had a situation in the Tesla. It was similar to this, where I had my autopilot on, and it just tried to spit me off at a junction down here.
Yeah, they used to be great for that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you've got on your display now, we'll come back to the traction control thing. So you've got green lines on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's doing
The lane keep.
lane keeping.
Yeah.
It's got a green line in the middle, so it's following a vehicle in front.
Yes.
When you get near to a vehicle in front, your heads-up display will highlight which vehicle it's
Can
following.
I put a signal on now?
Yeah, if you
Will it
put a
lane
signal
change?
on, it will go green lane changing and lane changing. Turn your signal off,
And
it will
won't
carry
go
on signalling until it's straight, and then it'll turn on.
It's clever that. It's clever that. It is a nice little system, to be fair. We've got an advisory of 60, so I'm just taking my control again. That's interesting, that though. I am going to head off towards Pimbo, Skelmersdale.
So yeah, so the VW would put enough torque on
Yeah.
to traction control to kick in, and of course, as soon as you get traction control to kick in,
Turn
cruise
it on.
control comes off. So you've gone from steady cruise, slowing down, applied power, no cruise. And in the conditions that he was in,
Yeah.
you could quite easily see how that would unsettle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you were just a little bit, as he was, two wheels on the slushy stuff,
Yeah.
around you go.
Round you go. I was a little disappointed in that video, to be fair. I said to Owen as well, I feel as though I've stitched you up a little bit there, mate, because I should have said right at the beginning, and Owen did hold his hands up. He said, I've got no idea why I didn't just disengage it and just slow down. He just had one of those moments.
Yeah.
Is what it is. In fact, I think we're near the end of the 58. I think I'm just going to go back round because I don't know how I get out from this junction across the other side. I can't remember. So I'm not going to go in there. Saying that, no, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. You don't go in that one. I'm going to try and find my way back out. If there is a way back out. Don't know. Doesn't look positive, does it? Doesn't join the motorway, does it? No, I'm going back out again. Changed my mind. Sorry, Simon.
It's all right. I was even trying to look on the sat nav, but it's just a load of figure of eights.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to head down to the bottom, the interchange at the bottom of the M6, and just come round and come back. So yeah, I was a little disappointed. I should have said at the start of the video, listen, Owen's held his hands up for that. I sort of thought I did though, with putting his words across the screen. But the big message was that weight transfer and a balance, but it's obviously something that you know about.
But here's another interesting one, which you experienced then.
Yeah.
When you switch cruise off in this car,
Yeah.
it's really hard to do it in a stable
Smooth
way because you've got no idea where your right foot needs to be
To balance, yes.
unless you put enough on just to get a bit of acceleration.
Feel and then turn it off, which is what I've done there. But even there, I still had a little bit of regen with it, didn't I?
Yeah. And that's because cruise uses a different throttle map.
Than
Than
your
normal.
actual throttle.
Yeah. So even if you've got it where you think absolutely perfect, when you disconnect, when you
Well,
disengage it, it's like, oh.
I could feel that there, when you did say use a little bit before you disengaged it, I could feel a little bit of pull on the car. So I was surprised actually that it did start a little bit of regen with it.
Yeah. And that's one of those really niggly little tiny things, because it disappoints me that I think I'm giving a passenger a poor experience, because every time I turn the cruise off, they're going, "Oh, you're slowing down."
No. You're just a nit like me,
of course
mate.
I am.
You're just a nit.
Of course I am. It's just one of those really only me notices.
Yeah. Must admit, I do like, we can't see it obviously, you'll just have to take my word from this. I do like the head-up display with showing someone's in our blind spot area as well.
We've got a short video
that's cool.
of the mirror.
That's boss. And it is very similar to the Tesla system, but it's better than the Tesla system, because the Tesla system had it to the left-hand side on the big screen, so at least you don't have to take your eyes away too far.
Sure.
But yeah, very impressed, mate. I think I said to everyone on the last video as well, this was one of the vehicles that I was looking at before I got the Tesla. But the reason why I did was, at that point in time, if you had Tesla in the title of your video on YouTube, it was going a little bit better than if you had Kia. So that was my reason behind it. But I love electric cars, to be honest, mate. Just looking, 95 miles. What's it like charging? Because the 800 volt architecture to it, I'm suspecting it will charge at pretty decent rates as well, will it?
It does, if you pick the right charger.
Okay.
Because the difference between a 100 kilowatt charger and a 300 kilowatt charger in this car is huge.
I must admit, I had a trip to Southampton in Liz's car just this weekend, just gone, and I plugged into a 300 kilowatt charger, and I was doing 253 kilowatts, and then someone in a Volvo, the four-wheel drive, would see 40S. Anyway, the not the EX30, not the new one. The next one above that came and plugged in next to me, and it was as if the charging station couldn't cope with 250 for us, and then another whatever for them, went down to 150, and even that makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, load balancing between the units is a big thing.
Yeah. Have we gone off there? We're still recording here, that's all. Just overheated a bit, that's all. I'll let that cool down for a touch, and then we'll whack it back on. Is that common with chargers as well then, is it?
Most of the installations are in pairs.
Okay.
If you're a Tesla person using a supercharger, they're in pairs. So you'll quite often turn up to a Tesla superchargers and see that they're all parts
Two away.
Yeah, they're all parts alternates. That's because they've got an A and a B. They make it easy for you to identify.
Yes.
Whereas it's a kind of hidden thing with the rest of them. They do tend to be in pairs, off one connection.
Yeah.
And if you do get, like you say, somebody whose car can take the full load, then somebody else comes along.
It cuts.
It will balance it out.
I get you.
But yeah, this, like we did a trip to France.
Yeah.
In this, and used all Ionity chargers.
Yeah.
On the other side of the channel.
Yeah.
And the charging speeds were such that barely enough time for a pee. Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's
what's the max charge on these EV6s as well, into the 200s, is it?
270, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a big difference, the charging speeds. Charging speed, absolutely. I'm going to try our camera here again. It surprises me that one actually shut off. Anyway, that's why you run a couple of cameras, mate.
So you got a blind spot warning when you were coming back in.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a slight disconnect in the technologies. So if it's doing the lane change for you,
yes,
and it's got the signal on, and it's moving out, somebody comes in the next lane across over your shoulder, you'll get a blind spot warning.
Okay.
Right.
You still need to obviously keep an eye on it, pretty certainly, don't you?
Yeah, but you don't need a warning.
If no,
No, it's just because you've got a signal on. Well, but you've not got the signal on. The car's got.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that, to be fair. I don't mind that. It does keep us a little bit to the left of the lane when it's lane keeping assist, to be fair.
Does it?
Yeah, tiny touch.
You think?
Tiny touch. We're a smidgen closer to this than we are that. Have you found that? No? No? Pretty even?
I thought it was pretty even.
Might have just been
But
that.
This car pulls to the left. Still, after 2 years.
It's still a touch. It might be taking... It is. It's taking this imperfection or the dots on the line.
Yeah, it hates those.
Yeah. I actually still think that it takes a little bit more thought when you first get into a car like this. Again, it's creating, going back to what I said before, fluff, just because it's new to me. Obviously, when it becomes second nature, it's a piece of cake, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just go with it.
But then you've not experienced it yet. What you then find is when you think it's going to do a lane change for you,
Yeah.
and then the tech goes, nope,
Not doing it.
can't do that. So then because you've been not relying on it,
What's that?
it's saying you need to have your hands on the wheel.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Was that all it was? And that was my next thing, to test it, to go,
Yeah, it's quite fussy.
How long can it take it off for?
Yeah, it's quite fussy about hands on wheel, and you can't fake it.
Can't you? You tried. Well, obviously I do the same. Do exactly the same.
Yeah, but it is that, and all it takes is a bit of reassurance, and it's so fussy sometimes that if you're in sync with the car,
Yes.
and you're doing the turn as it's doing
Still
it,
closer to that, you know.
I think.
Sorry. Go on. If you're
But
in sync.
if you're in sync with it, it will sometimes go, put your hands on the wheel. But they are. It's just we were doing what you wanted us to do.
I get you.
So you just have to apply a little bit of.
Now it's
touch.
pretty much in the middle. So do you think that's possibly the pull to the left that's possibly causing that?
Possible.
So they've never got to the issue with why it actually has been doing that?
No. So, without turning it into a long story,
Yeah.
it's been into the garage several times for tracking-related issues,
Yeah.
or tracking and vibration-related issues. They fixed the vibration by putting a different set of wheels and tyres on it.
Did they change them as well, didn't they? They actually changed the wheels and tyres for you?
Yeah. What they did was they took the wheels and tyres off another person's car and put them on mine, and then it worked. So that's that. But from that moment on,
Yeah.
it's always pulled to the left. Like, you can try it if you want. You'll have to turn all the lane keep assist and
Oh,
stuff
it's
off.
okay. It's
But
all right. It's fine.
it will. I've got a clip. We may insert a clip here. On a straight road like this,
Yeah.
it will be on the hard shoulder in 300 yards. But it's not a tracking issue
Strange that, isn't it?
because it greens all the tracking tests.
When it's all lined up and on the...
It's all perfectly lined up.
Yeah.
It's been through multiple tests. I've been through a set of tyres, and
None
they've
have
all
been
won reasonably
differently,
evenly.
Yeah.
It's don't
It's
know.
okay.
Don't-
I think your cross climates are quieter than mine.
They've bedded in though, you know, and you said yours bedded in.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first got them at 60,
They were a little bit
Bit
louder,
noisy.
were they? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do. Considering you're in an EV, which is quiet anyway,
Yes.
I'm really impressed with how quiet these are.
Yeah.
Hardly any noise increase compared to the previous.
I know there's probably better, wetter tyres, and a lot of people said that in the comment section. I agree, but for me, wet is less of an issue than ice or snow. I would rather have that better performance in the worst conditions, and that for me was why I went for the cross climates. I hope it wasn't just because I got a set that you went and say, well, did you have a I'm sure you had a delve into all different bits with it as well, did you?
I definitely didn't get them because you got them.
Good.
I
Don't
think
believe
if-
anything I say.
fact, I
VFO
can't-
dash cams are 10. No, they're not.
I
They're
can't
not the
even
brilliant.
remember the timing of it because I think we got them at pretty much the same time.
So,
But anyway, the reason I got them for this is when you went and looked, I get all my tyres to black circles.
that's where I got mine from,
Yeah.
to be fair. Yeah.
When you went and looked at all-weather tyres for an EV, these are the ones that are give the best fuel efficiency and noise and grip.
Yes.
All the others are down on one of those three significantly.
Yes. These are pretty good across the board for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've coped with grip quite nicely on my car, because my car, obviously, with it being turbocharged, you get that instant loading of torque.
Yeah.
Rather than it being a progression like you can with an EV. Although you get the torque instantly, it just overwhelms my tyres, I think, in the turbocharged vehicles. But to be honest, they've coped with even that pretty well.
The thing is,
with it.
with this, and I tested it before I changed the tyres.
Yeah.
On a dry road, if you nail it from a standing start,
Yep.
even with all the traction control turned off,
Yeah.
it still won't spin a wheel. It has got so much mechanical grip.
Yeah, and I think they have, to be honest, and that is one
Really
good,
impressive.
That is one good thing about the EVs. Have you found, excuse me? Have you found efficiency? Has that tapered off at all? Because I know that you did keep all kinds of data. Have you still kept that up throughout its life?
Yeah. So there's an online dashboard that you can go and look at, which has got every single journey logged for this car.
Yeah.
And shows the changes in efficiency from the seasons. Have I noticed any difference? My gut says yes. I think it's a little bit worse.
But it's not really noticeable.
It's not really noticeable, and it's probably more an indication of the weather that we've had at the start of this year.
Yeah.
Being colder,
Yeah.
and we had that period of snow.
Yes.
And we had it a lot longer than you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there was days where we couldn't go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's more of a factor than having these tyres on.
Yeah. But it's
and unfortunately, I'm not going to have the car long enough for it to go into the next season
and then work out. Well, I get you.
The thing is, here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I chose the Cross Climates knowing that I was changing cars. I don't think I would have put Cross Climates on this if I was keeping it for the summer and going to France in it.
Okay.
Because I think these would get really, really hot on the auto route in summer.
I sort of agree as well.
Because the ones that I had on before, when we were in France was when I was trying to work out what this tracking issue was.
Yes.
So I took my laser tank gun with me.
Yep.
And did the tyre temps all the way around after an auto run.
And then
we were at 58 degrees.
Okay.
So it was pretty hot.
Pretty hot, yeah.
And they were very sticky.
Yeah.
But they were all consistent.
Yeah.
But I think
these would
have
be
been
more
almost melting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that's an edge case, you know. Although the run out to France is a long journey, it's still only a small percentage of their overall mileage.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was on my mind when I changed the Cross Climate.
Yeah. Would you stick them on a new one? Do you think you'd have two sets of tyres, or depends on the Quattro four-wheel drive system?
They're huge.
Yeah. Are they? They're expensive toys, are they? Yeah.
285 on the back.
Nice. Good effort. But honestly, these things they're cracking motors. Have they been hit with the colossal depreciation of some EV cars like the rest, or have they fared a little better? How have they done with that, Simon?
Compared to some, they've been pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it's depreciated faster than I would have liked. At this point in its PCP, I would have liked to have been going into the green more than I am.
Yeah.
It might just make parity if I take it for trade-in.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it 6 months early.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fared better than others.
Most. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you think we've reached the trough of that depreciation with electric cars now? Do you think there's anything in the pipeline to encourage people to go off and actually use them and purchase them. I think this is still generally going to be for business people, personally. But do you think the newer ones, say the new electric vehicle that we've ordered and the electric Audi that you've ordered, do you think they're going to fare a little better?
Potentially, but I don't think that's what's going to be the tipping point. I think it's the equivalence to the Focus.
Yeah.
You know, the ID range from VW has been quite successful.
Yeah.
Other manufacturers bringing similar sorts of things out, that'll be the tipping point. Where people that don't care, that do short journeys,
Yeah.
that can charge at home,
Yep.
and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Because when I got into EVs, the difference in price for charging away from home wasn't that great. Whereas now,
It's colossal.
I mean, if I wanted to go and do a 400-mile round trip in a day, spoiler, just done one,
Yeah.
the energy cost would be the same as if I was driving a diesel.
I think it's possibly more. I stuck ours in by my lad's house in Southampton. Can't even remember the name of the charger. I just went, I don't care. It needs charging. It was on 10% and it got it up to 75%. So 65% charge of I think it's an 83, 84 kilowatt usable battery. We can probably do the sums. It cost me 48 quid.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I laughed at it, to be fair. And it probably only got me 130, 40 miles, I would say, extra. And that's more expensive than me using my Focus ST round town.
Yeah, it is, but you still got to remember you left home with a battery full of cheap electrons.
Yes. So
you got
it has to average that, yes.
Yeah. So it's only on those long journeys where you're away from home,
Yeah.
or you've not got home charging.
Yeah.
But as I said, a 400-mile round trip from home, so
Yeah.
leaving home with a full battery of cheap electrons,
Yeah.
and arriving home on electron vapors.
Yeah.
Still
Is
parity.
Yeah, you're right. And people don't understand that. You're absolutely right, because when you learn to use an electric car, you try and scrape home with as little as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I've done it when I've been on 4% and stuff like that before now.
We have
panicking that I was going to get home or not.
Yeah, we have a general agreement that less than 10% gets me earache. So if I'm on my own, I'll quite happily get home with 4%.
Yeah.
But anything more than that, and Carla becomes increasingly unhappy.
Panicked, yeah, I know. Have you ever run it down to below that? Have you ever run it to 0 and tested how long it will go after that?
I've run it to the point of turtle mode.
Okay. I've never had the balls to go off and do anything like that.
I pulled off at one of the services north side of Leeds because I'd miscalculated based on weather or something like that. I can't remember the reasons, but yes, as you were
doing 110 in the outside like now.
Yeah, all that kind of thing. But no, I got it to the point where it went reduced power mode, turns the aircon off, turns the radio off.
Wicked.
And
it was down there. Yeah.
But I've got history. I've in that VW Bora we were talking about. We once arrived at the Eurotunnel coming back from Germany.
Yes.
With not enough fuel in the car to start it.
Nice.
Or just about start it, and you're not supposed to get on the tunnel or anything like that.
Yeah.
And when you come off the tunnel descend, you've got a ramp to go up.
Couldn't get up.
We did that on the starter motor.
Wicked. Start it, jump it, start it, didn't like it.
So I've got history.
Fair play.
So it's fair that if I start to take the nick, then
fair enough. Yeah, I can see it. Chill out. Little bit of positivity with the white Ford. Has to be done. But the second-hand market, this goes out to all of my viewers, to be honest. The second-hand market for electric cars does produce some decent bargains and some things that you're not necessarily going to lose a lot of money on. One of my sons, about 10 months or so ago bought a Polestar 2, bought it very intelligently at the lowest point in the market. Paid 20,000 something for it, I think. It's the one with 400 brake as well. Nice spec to it. And I think if you put that car into Motorway or CarWow or any of the places that buy your car off you, I think he could get more money for it now than he actually paid for it.
Good.
So there are bargains out there for people to go off and get into an electric car.
I mean, this will be a bargain. If you think about, there are currently, I think, 3 for sale.
Okay.
That are this spec.
Yeah.
Similar sort of mileage.
Yeah.
This is by far the best one.
Yeah.
Because I've looked after it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the full ceramic coating on it. It's had everything done to it. It's got a brand new set of cross climbers. This will be a good buy for somebody. If anybody wants to offer me decent money for it, I'll take it. But
I didn't even think of that. But if anyone's after
one
of these, get in touch with me. I'll pass the details over to Simon. But yeah, there are some bargains to be had. And people are shying away from electric cars. There are still a few questions for me on the longevity of electric vehicles, but I did see something the other day that the average lifespan of a ICE car is about 16 and a half years. An average lifespan of an electric car they're foreseeing to be about 18. So I don't know what people are actually worrying about, to be honest.
It's not the things that people worry about. It's not the battery, it's not the motors.
No.
And everything else is the same as another car.
No, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. All of your plastics, all of your rubbers, everything else, that's the things that will deteriorate, need replacing.
Yeah.
Batteries and motors, nah. In fact, batteries more often than not are getting second life.
Yes.
You know, recycling the battery units up into household batteries. Or,
yes. Well, I've recently done that to my house as well. Last year I installed solar panels and installed a storage battery as well. And I know that is going to be something that they are going to be used for. So this isn't an EV big sell with Simon, just because Simon's an EV fan. I am actually an EV fan as well. I think it suits me on how I drive a car and the chilledness with it, but you still need that little bit of an extra oomph if you need it on occasions. The reason why I don't have an EV is literally the work that I do, teaching driving instructors. I think it's a cheat code if I use an automatic vehicle. So that's my reasoning behind still having a manual and having to have one. But if it didn't do the job it did, I'd absolutely go off and get something like this. And I think, to be honest, with the state of things, I'd probably buy second-hand. I'd probably buy something like this second-hand and happily keep it for another 5 or 6 years. Is that telling me to get a move on?
Yeah.
Calm down.
The car in front is leaving.
Yeah.
Really? Thanks.
Yeah.
It's quite insistent.
I had that in the Volvo when I went over to the States recently as well. It kept on shouting at me for not zooming away like a traffic light Grand Prix, but anyway. But the car's a cracker, mate, to be fair. I'm glad I finally got in it. It's taken me a little while. Apologies for that, Simon. Is there anything that you can think of, before we get back to mine, is there anything that you can think of that we said or you wanted to discuss? I think we've done...
We've ticked all the boxes, but I'll come back to that we were just talking about there, where you think it's a cheat code.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But is there a skill to driving an EV that you think, you know, newly qualified drivers are going to lack? Or contrary to that, do you think there's a skill that you and I learned as dinosaur drivers that is now lacking in newly qualified drivers?
Going back to what I said at the beginning, people don't observe well enough. They'll be looking at the floor here to do this left turn rather than actually looking in and seeing its sharpness.
Yeah.
That doesn't change.
No.
And that primarily for me is the reason why poor drivers are poor drivers. I doubt that you've seen it today, Simon, but I'm sure you'll have a little look when I get home. The video that went out today, the day that we are filming, you can go back and check this out, everyone, is the Brake Happy video.
Oh, I saw it. I saw the thumbnail.
Saw the thumbnail?
Yeah.
And that's down to looking at the floor. Is that something that could be potentially worse in an electric vehicle? Yes, because of how soon the brake lights come on and you're just backing off. That could be something, but I think that's a problem for the electric car manufacturers to work out a little bit better, rather than the lack of skill, because there's often nothing that you can do about it. Would you say it's a fair point? But I don't think there's anything else that stops newly qualified drivers being able to get over into an automatic vehicle and driving it. Interestingly, the work that I've done on my new car series has made me sit in front of a computer and look at insurance situations a lot. There's a massive difference between someone who passes in a manual car and then gets insured on an automatic,
Isn't it?
compared to someone who passes in an automatic and drives an automatic. It will be way cheaper to insure if you pass in a manual and drive an automatic rather than passing an automatic.
So the insurance people, and let's face it, they're the ones who put their money on the line,
have worked it out.
They know that manual qualified drivers
are of a
higher
higher standard than
so that's a planning,
automatic.
for me, that's a planning thing. So that corner where you're talking about there,
Yeah,
if you've got to have planned what gear to be in,
yeah.
I think it makes you a better planning driver.
Oh, okay. Interestingly, I sort of go the other way with it and think that people are a little bit gear orientated, where they think of the gears as opposed to the slowing down and looking at the corner itself.
Right. Oh, that's fair. Okay.
I know where you're coming from,
It's a
though.
nuance. So I'm going back to the advanced driving, the
Yes.
system of car control.
IPSCA.
Yeah, position, speed, gear, indicate.
Yeah.
So everything is about, for every single hazard, am I doing the right speed,
Yes.
first of all,
Yes.
and then have I got the right gear?
Correct, yeah.
Whereas you take it, some might say in an automatic or an EV, you take the gear thing out of it,
Yeah.
that makes it easier. But actually, I think it just adds an extra layer of planning into it.
A little, yeah.
It's just
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think it can work both ways and does work both ways with people, but there's not a deficiency in skill just because this new driver is going to be driving an EV. There's just a deficiency in skill.
Yeah.
For me, and that comes from many things. It comes from my industry. It comes from the driving instructor industry, who actually seem to be getting worse. I've recently started just putting a few of my clips on TikTok, and some of the driving instructors who post on TikTok, I'm tearing my hair out even though I've got none, on some of the things that they're talking about, and it's blowing my mind. I think they're getting worse. I don't think the levels that people are pushed to then go off and pass a test are high enough. I think something needs to be done about it, to be honest, because at the end of the day, even this car with 320 horsepower and it's weighing, what, 2.2, something like
2.3 tons.
2.3 tons. What issues have I had with it today? None. And it's always going to be the case. And I've got into a fresh, brand new car. All right, you're saying you've got history on getting them down to the last ounce of fuel and bits and bobs. I've got history. I could get into anything and just feel comfortable in it within a minute or two.
Yeah.
But it is a lack of skill. That's all.
Just going back to the brake lights one then, because that's one of the things we did touch upon briefly in our pre-chat, was in a manual car, the brake lights come on when you press the brake pedal.
Yep.
In most cases, it's still a physical switch on the pedal.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
In an EV, the car decides when the brake lights come on by a combination of decelerometer, regen braking sensors, all the reasons.
Yeah.
And it's different across manufacturers.
Yeah.
There's no consistency.
Correct.
I think this one is terrible
Okay.
because it will put the brake lights on as soon as you've got regen on.
Yep.
Which means that even going down, not even a big hill on a motorway, the brake lights will be on the entire way
and that
down.
can cause issues. Yes, I agree. The first vehicle that I really noticed that was particularly bad on was Teslas. and it's the stereotypical Tesla driver. There, for example, I've had that conscious thought of still to be pressing that accelerator a tiny little bit until I wanted the brake lights to be on.
Yeah.
But I don't expect people to be like me doing it. I'll be surprised if anywhere near 1% of the drivers out there are going to have that thought the same that I've just had. I know you probably would do. Would you do the same? Would you keep on that accelerator a little bit longer if you...
You can, but you can't do it all the time.
No, you can't.
And I've had numerous occasions where people have been frustrated behind me because they've seen brake lights, but you can actually be almost accelerating or at least keeping the same speed, and they've got brake lights. And they think you're brake checking.
Do you feel as though, going back to the beginning when that Ford Fiesta overtook us just after the mini roundabout, do you think that situation happened probably because of that?
It will have been a contribution.
Yes, and yes, there's many different factors that people look at, and I sometimes say cause the overtake. It didn't cause it, but there is a contribution to it. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So that's something that you can be conscious of as a driver, but for me that's down to the manufacturers to work out and people to be educated on well enough to know that this could be an electric vehicle and there could be brake lights popping on at inconvenient times. Absolutely. That's been a good one, mate, to be fair. Every time I see Simon, and I said it before we started this as well, every time I see Simon, said, anything you want to cover? A little bit. Should we just wing it? Yeah. And we did it exactly the same with the cognitive load video. There was no script or anything, just like there hasn't been today. That's a bright one. Can you just turn that big ball of nuclear fusion off for me for a sec?
Not in my gift to do
no,
that.
Can't do that one. Did I ever tell you that I've said to students before, by all means use your sun visor or close your eyes? And I did have one student turn around and go, if I close my eyes, I actually won't be able to see. That's for another day. But
it's good that they realise that rather than
just go with what I
the
said.
next lamppost.
But yeah, thank you very much for popping over and coming and seeing us and letting us have a go with your car today. It's been an interesting one. I think hopefully we've highlighted people to potentially there's a bargain out there in the electric used car market.
There is.
And if you've got a place to charge it at home, honestly, it can save you a fair bit of money as well. Anything to add, buddy?
No, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you've got any questions, ask them. I'm sure Simon will be in the comment section as well if there's anything you want to ask. And remember, if you want to ask or if you want to offer Simon any money for his car, it didn't even cross our minds to think about that. It's just happened like that. Yeah. But if you're after a Kia EV6, it's like I said, cross climate tyres, been really looked after, and it's a lovely drive. Give us a shout and I'll pass your details over. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.